My rich bestie was heading overseas for a 3-month business trip. Before she left, she called me, sobbing her eyes out. "Sweetie, I can't bear to leave you. Who's going to take care of you when I'm gone? I've spoiled you rotten all these years. I can't trust anyone else with you." I was just about to say something when a deep, slightly annoyed male voice came through the phone. "What kind of pet turtle is so precious? I'll watch it for a while. Is it really worth all this life or death theatrics?" My best friend stopped crying. "Bro, are you serious?" I froze, the words dying on my lips, because my bestie's brother was 6 feet tall, had 8-pack abs, and the face of a movie star. He was also the guy I'd had a secret crush on for 6 years. On the other end, the man answered casually, "Yeah, I'll watch it." I didn't say a word. I just started packing my bags. My best friend was leaving on a business trip for 3 months. "You have to eat on time after I leave. Oh, and no ordering unhealthy takeout. Remember to eat fruit, and take those alphabet vitamins I got you every day." I couldn't help but cut her off. I'm 24 years old. I'm a grown adult who can take care of herself. Chloe said, "Zip it, I'm not done." I went quiet. "Don't stay up late. It's bad for you." "Okay. It's going to get colder in a few days, remember to layer up." "Okay." Chloe's obsession with mothering me started back in middle school. For family reasons, I was a bit malnourished back then, all skinny and small with a sallow complexion. Chloe, on the other hand, came from a wealthy family. Even though we were the same age, she was a head taller than me. The way we met was when she offered me a chicken drumstick in the cafeteria. "Okay, fine," I asked for it. Miss Chloe thought the cafeteria drumsticks were too greasy and was about to throw hers away. I worked up the courage to walk over and ask her for it. That's when our lives began to intersect, and gradually, we became inseparable best friends. She spent 2 years fattening me up until I was healthy and glowing. And she was incredibly proud of it. The old me would have never imagined that by the time I got to college, I'd be desperately trying to lose weight. After we graduated and started our careers, Chloe kept up her habit of taking care of me. She'd say, "You know, seeing you so healthy and well makes me super proud." She would stroke my shiny black hair and pinch the flesh on my cheeks. A look of pure affection on her face. "So good. You've grown so well." It felt like she was admiring a prize-winning pig at the state fair. I was grateful to her. And I understood her. Chloe's family was well off. Her father was a brilliant entrepreneur, her mother was a talented designer, and she had an older brother who had excelled at everything since he was a kid. All things considered, she was the most ordinary one in the family. Maybe that's why she'd always craved recognition from others. And she was used to seeking a sense of accomplishment in any way she could. This sudden 3-month overseas assignment was a complete surprise to her. But since it was the family business, she couldn't refuse. The reason she couldn't let go of me. It wasn't just because she was used to taking care of me all these years. It was also because she knew about my family situation. She knew my gambling addict father, who had just been released from prison after a 10-year sentence for assault, was out. She was afraid he would come looking for me, afraid I'd get hurt. She cared about my feelings, so she never mentioned this reason out loud. I listened patiently as she nagged me for what felt like an eternity. Finally, Chloe let out another long wail. "Maybe I should just pass this business trip on to someone else. Sweetie, I can't bear to leave you. Who's going to take care of you when I'm gone? I've spoiled you rotten all these years. I can't trust anyone else with you. Honestly, I'm not spoiled at all. And I was confident I could take care of myself." I was about to say something to reassure her when I heard a deep male voice on her end of the line. "What's all that screaming and crying in your room? Did you get a pet turtle? What kind of turtle is this precious? I'm on vacation for a while. I can look after it for you." My hand holding the phone froze. That voice. My bestie's voice sounded a little farther away, like she was talking to someone next to her. Bro? What did you just say? You're turtle. I'll watch it for you for a few days. The man's voice was lazy and casual. I helped Grandpa watch his sulcata tortoise before, and he said I did a great job. My bestie was silent for a moment. When she spoke again, her tone was a bit strange. Even though I have a feeling we're not talking about the same species, leaving it with you might actually work. You'll really do it? The man agreed quickly. Yep. I'll watch it. Honey, can I ask you something? Do you want to come stay at my place for a while? Okay. Don't be shy. We're practically sisters, what's the difference? Okay. My brother happens to be home. You know, he's been training in kickboxing and Muay Thai since he was a kid. And even though he's got a sharp tongue, a huge ego, plays dirty, and has zero social skills, he's a good person. Wait, what did you say? I had to laugh. I repeated myself. I said, okay. After we hung up, I could feel my palms getting a little sweaty. I couldn't blame Chloe for being so surprised. Given my personality, always afraid of troubling others, would have normally refused an offer like that. The reason I broke character and agreed was because of Chloe's brother. The brother she described as having a sharp tongue, a huge ego, playing dirty, and having zero social skills actually had another set of descriptors he'd been known for since we were kids. Handsome, smart, righteous, thoughtful, humble, a true golden boy. Chloe's brother, Ethan, was 4 years older than us. When we were in middle school, he was already a big shot in the high school division. I was always seeing him speak at various events as an outstanding student representative. Whenever that happened, Chloe, standing next to me, would always scoff. TCH, what a phony. The Ethan she described was a completely different person. Thanks to her relentless bad-mouthing, I once believed Ethan really was a pretentious, creepy little jerk. That is, until our 8th grade year, when I fainted from low blood sugar during morning exercises on the field. A panicked Chloe screamed for her brother. Ethan knelt in front of me and put a piece of candy in my mouth. The sweetness melted on my tongue. I heard him ask me, "Do you mind if I carry you to the nurse's office?" I shook my head, and the next second, he had me on his back. I smelled the fresh citrus scent on him. Not the smelly, unshowered odor Chloe had talked about. I watched him bustling around the nurse's office, talking to the nurse for me and getting me excused from class. Not the cold-blooded monster Chloe had described. I knew then that you couldn't believe everything Chloe said. Especially about Ethan. To correct my previous misconceptions about him, I started to discreetly observe him. I later discovered that Chloe was an expert at slander. I only realized I had a crush on Ethan after I started college. It hit me one day when Chloe casually mentioned that her brother might be dating someone. I was stunned for a long time. That night, I tossed and turned in bed, unable to sleep. I tried to subtly ask Chloe what type of girl her brother's girlfriend was. After getting the answer, a tall, sexy, long-legged beauty, I rage ate 2 whole bowls of rice. But my growing days were over. 2 bowls of rice weren't going to change the fact that I was 5 feet 3 inches. Later, I heard from Chloe that the whole dating thing was a false alarm. Chloe fumed, a gorgeous girl like that was chasing him, and he actually turned her down? What is wrong with him? I forced a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. Ethan's standards were that high? Ha ha ha, boo hoo hoo. It's not like I was delusional enough to think anything could happen between me and Ethan. It's just, I couldn't accept it. I couldn't. He probably didn't even remember my name. The next day, when I called Chloe, she shrieked, "What's wrong? You're not backing out, are you?" I said, "I'm at your front door. Open up." A few seconds later, the door was yanked open. Chloe stared at me with wide eyes. Then she looked at the suitcase next to me. She grabbed my hand. "Perfect. This is how it should be. Come on in. My home is your home. Sit anywhere. Lie down anywhere. Chloe's apartment was huge. It was a condo her parents had bought for her in the East Bay. According to her, her brother was staying here because it was too far to go back to their parents' house. Plus, he had a few friends here and wanted to use his vacation time to hang out with them. I sat on the sofa, feeling a little nervous. I subconsciously glanced toward the guest room. Your brother. Before I could finish, the door to that room was pulled open. Ethan, wearing pajamas, looked over with sleepy eyes. Who's here? His voice was a bit hoarse since he had just woken up. The loose collar of his pajama top revealed a sliver of his chest, hinting at the firm, tan muscles underneath. I froze like a statue, quickly looked away, and took a sip of water with a trembling hand. He saw me too. He paused for 2 seconds, then turned around without hesitation. When he came out again, he was fully dressed, and he'd even quickly tidied his messy hair. Chloe made the introduction. Bro, this is my bestie, Leah. Ethan nodded and smiled at me. Hi. I managed a nervous, hi. Ethan didn't seem surprised to see me here. He started talking to me like we were old friends. I hear Chloe talk about her bestie all the time. She's leaving on her trip tomorrow, right? Did you come over to hang out with her before she goes? I was taken aback. Huh? He continued, don't worry, you two chat. I have to go out in a bit, so I won't bother you. He went to the bathroom to wash up. As he passed by me on his way out, I caught that familiar citrus scent again. Chloe often said her brother was a very lazy person. He didn't like trying new things and had been using the same brand of body wash for years. But instead of lazy, I thought the word loyal suited him better. By the way. Ethan turned and asked Chloe, where's your precious turtle? Where do you keep it? You should bring it home today so I can see how to take care of it. Chloe was evasive. My bestie is easy to take care of, super easy. You don't need to be too particular. There's an art to raising turtles, Ethan countered. Some turtles need regular baths, or they can get a skin disease. Oh, right, does your turtle need me to give it a bath? Chloe was speechless. Pfft. Sitting on the sofa, I suddenly sprayed out the mouthful of water I had just taken. The siblings both turned to look at me. Ethan's gaze slowly shifted from me to the suitcase I'd placed next to the sofa. In a matter of seconds, it seemed like he'd figured everything out. His expression shifted multiple times, and finally, with his face bright red, he dragged Chloe into her room. The two of them muttered in low voices in there for a long time while I sat on the sofa, my leg bouncing uncontrollably. Maybe I should just forget it. Grab my suitcase and go home now, the thought spun around in my head. Just as my mind was racing, the door opened. Ethan came out first. His expression was back to normal. He looked at me calmly and smiled. Welcome. Please, make yourself at home. I'll do my best not to disturb you. If anything I do makes you feel uncomfortable in any way, please let me know anytime. Chloe followed behind him, giving me an okay sign. I managed a weak smile and thanked Ethan. I could just imagine what Chloe had said to her brother. She probably guilt-tripped him. That started to weigh on me. After Ethan left, I helped Chloe pack her luggage. That night, we slept in the same bed, talking until 1 in the morning. The next morning, Ethan drove Chloe to the airport. Just as I received a text from Chloe saying she had boarded the plane, I heard the sound of the digital lock at the front door. Ethan was back. He pushed the door open and saw me, clearly startled for a second, then smiled. Morning. I stood in the living room and tried to sound as natural as possible. Morning. The awkwardness of two people who barely knew each other living under the same roof was inevitable. We made some small talk, and I felt like my toes were about to dig a hole through Chloe's floor. Once I got to work, my racing heart finally calmed down enough for me to think. I had managed to subtly get a lot of intel from Chloe about her brother's ideal type. Chloe said his favorite actress was Song Ling, a gentle and quiet type. So, I decided that for the next few days, would be a quiet, gentle lady. After a week of being a gentle lady, I declared Plan A a failure. Because I discovered that Ethan didn't seem to be interested in me at all. Whenever he saw me, he would immediately put on a polite but distant smile. As soon as I got home from work, he would usually stay in his room. We barely ever ran into each other. He didn't seem to care whether I was quiet or not. Leaning back in my office chair, I wondered if I should change my strategy, or if there was any point in changing it at all. Before I knew it, it was time to clock out. Today, Ethan had plans to have dinner with a friend and said he'd be back late. I slowly packed my things and took the subway home. Chloe's apartment in the East Bay was close to the subway station, but you had to cut through a small park to get there. It gets dark early in the winter, and it wasn't until I left the station that I realized something was different about the park today. It was too dark. An old man passing by told me that the park streetlights had been vandalized and were under repair. I hesitated for a moment but decided to walk through the park anyway. Taking the long way around was too far, it would add more than 10 minutes. The sky wasn't completely dark yet, so I could still see the path. As I was about to exit the park, I saw a man and a woman in the distance, arguing about something in the middle of the path. Their voices grew louder, escalating into a full-blown fight. I had no intention of getting involved. Just as I was about to walk past them, the man suddenly shoved the woman, pushing her onto the grass by the path. He was cursing, "Nothing. You have nothing to do with that pretty boy, so why is he texting you in the middle of the night?" The woman screamed, "He's an intern I'm mentoring. How many times do I have to tell you?" The man shot back, "I want you to tell me the truth. Are you cheating on me?" With that, he grabbed the woman's collar and, with his other hand, slapped her hard across the face. It all happened in a flash. I froze in place. Memories from my childhood came flooding back. A dimly lit room, my father, often with that same monstrous look on his face. The woman let out a piercing scream. Without thinking, I spun around and shoved the man away with all my strength. As I got closer, I could smell the alcohol on his breath. "Damn it!" the man cursed. "Who the hell is sticking their nose where it doesn't belong?" I ignored him and checked on the woman. She was trembling. To be honest, I was trembling even more than she was. I stood in front of her and turned to face the man. "You hit your girlfriend? Is that all you've got?" The man, furious, started to rush toward us. I frowned. "Don't come any closer. I've already called the police." I pulled the woman up from the ground, ready to run with her at a moment's notice. The man paused, but quickly figured it out. "When did you call the cops? You trying to fool me?" He glared at me menacingly. "Both of you. You think I'm an idiot?" With that, he strode over, reaching out to grab me. Before his hand could touch my clothes, my collar was yanked back, pulling my entire body away from the man. I only snapped back to reality when my back hit a warm wall. At the same time, that familiar, pleasant citrus scent filled my nose. "Officer, yes, we're in the park across from the East Bay apartments." The man's voice was deep and calm. "You're almost here? Okay, please hurry." The assailant appears ready to attack again. I turned to look, and Ethan was just ending the call. He frowned at the man, but before he could speak, the man turned and ran. He was clearly spooked by the call Ethan had just made. I blinked, terrified he would hear my abnormally fast heartbeat, so I quickly stood up straight and subtly took 2 steps to the side. "What are you doing here?" Just as Ethan was about to speak, I remembered something. "Wait a second, I need to talk to her." I turned to the still shaken woman and gently rubbed her arm. "It's okay now. You should stay at a friend's house tonight. Don't go back home. And if you're willing, you should probably file a police report." I had seen Ethan's phone screen just now. He hadn't had time to call the police, it was a bluff. "You and him," I hesitated, not knowing how to phrase it. But the woman seemed to have made up her mind. "We'll break up. I'll go to the police station later." "Thank you." She wiped her tears and pulled her coat tighter. After thanking both me and Ethan again, she quickly walked out of the dim path and into the bright light of the street lamps ahead. On the way back with Ethan, he answered my earlier question. Chloe told me you're afraid of the dark. I paused. So he knew the park lights were out and ended his get-together early to come pick me up. I looked down at the ground, watching as our shadows stretched and shrank, sometimes merging, sometimes separating. My heart beat faster and faster. Thank you, I said. Ethan replied, you're welcome. It was nothing. He was so polite that the little romantic fantasy that had just sparked in my mind quickly vanished. We walked home in silence. The moment I stepped inside, my feet froze. I remembered the gentle lady act I had been putting on for a week. Then I remembered how, in the park, to put on a brave face, I had cursed at that man and even thrown a few clumsy punches. I glanced at Ethan. He probably saw everything. I squeezed my eyes shut and walked stiffly toward my room. Your dinner. I don't have much of an appetite. I'll skip it. Bang. I shut the door. After lying in bed for a long time, I finally accepted the fact that my image in front of Ethan was shattered. Whatever, I thought. I'll just lay low for a while, then find an excuse to move out. Knock, knock, knock. Someone was at the door. Ethan's voice came from outside. Leah, I bought some roasted chestnuts on my way back this evening. I think you like them. I left them by your door. Roasted chestnuts? I sat up. I called out to the door, thank you. At that moment, my stomach let out an uncooperative growl. Once I was sure he was gone, I tiptoed to the door, opened it a crack, and brought the chestnuts inside. After a few chestnuts, I felt like I had come back to life. I immediately sent a message to Chloe. I praised her to the skies. She was the best. Not only did she tell Ethan I was afraid of the dark, but she also told him I was a huge fan of roasted chestnuts. Chloe's reply came quickly, huh? I never said that. Weird. How did my brother know all that? I stared at my phone, reading the message over and over again. I was floored. I couldn't figure it out. I decided to ask him myself. I rushed to the door, pulled it open, and ran out, only to collide with Ethan, who was just coming from the living room with a glass of water. The impact sent me stumbling back, and as for Ethan, the water from the glass splashed all over him. A large patch of his white shirt was soaked, clinging to his skin and turning nearly transparent. My mind went blank. Without thinking, I reached out and patted his chest a couple of times. I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. I just ended up spreading the water more evenly. I froze. Heat crept up my neck to my forehead. I stood there, motionless, like a boiled duck. Ethan grabbed my wrist, stopping my frantic movements. His palm was warm. It's okay. He said, I'll just go change. Ethan let go of my hand and started unbuttoning his shirt. In the few minutes he was in his room changing, I cleaned up the water on the floor. My brain had managed to reboot enough to think again. Soon, he opened his door and came out. I looked up at the sound. Ethan had changed into a black shirt, which made him seem a little colder and more distant. Why were you in such a hurry just now? Is something wrong? He asked me. Taking a few deep breaths, I said directly, yes. I have a few questions for you. He looked surprised. What? I summoned my courage and looked him in the eye. How did you know I'm afraid of the dark? And that I like roasted chestnuts? Ethan looked back at me. After a few seconds, he smiled. Chloe mentioned you were afraid of the dark by chance a couple of years ago. As for the roasted chestnuts. The smile in his eyes deepened. When I was in college, there was a famous roasted chestnut stand near campus. Every time I went home for break, Chloe would call and remind me to bring her a few bags. She doesn't like sweet, sticky snacks herself. The only person she'd be that insistent for, I could only guess it was you. Leah, you're Chloe's best friend, after all. I'm Chloe's best friend, after all. And here I am, trying to become her sister-in-law. The two thoughts popped into my head out of nowhere. I was startled and shook my head hard, trying to banish the idea. But it was no use. He had remembered such specific details about someone who, to him, should have been insignificant. Along with the gratitude, the desire to become Chloe's sister-in-law seemed to grow even stronger. Ethan asked, "Any other questions?" "Yes." I paused for a few seconds, then looked up at him. "Are you single?" I had already confirmed this with Chloe, but it wouldn't hurt to confirm it one more time. Ethan was visibly stunned. It took him several seconds to nod. My heart was about to pound out of my chest, but my face remained calm. I nodded. "Then I have something to tell you." Ethan asked, "What?" "I like you," I said. "And I'm going to pursue you." Ethan's eyes widened slightly. It was the first time I'd seen such an obvious expression of surprise on his face. Thankfully, there was no disgust or revulsion. I said it all in one breath. "I don't know exactly how I'm going to do it yet. I have to think about it. But I promise I won't bother you. You can rest assured about that. And you don't have to give me an answer right now. After all, if I asked for an answer now, the success rate would be too low. This isn't just a sudden whim. I've actually liked you for a long time. It just felt too cowardly to give up without even trying." I spoke quickly, my voice low. Almost as if I were talking to myself. "No other questions?" I nodded at Ethan. "Well, it's getting late. You should get some rest. Good night." After saying the last sentence, I turned, went into my room, and shut the door, all in one smooth motion. Leaning against the door, I listened for any sounds from outside. Ethan stood outside my door for a moment before slowly walking back to his own room. I could finally breathe properly, letting out a long sigh. Have I gone crazy? Maybe. But after playing by the rules for so many years, going crazy for once felt pretty good. I thought I'd be too excited to sleep. But I had a dreamless, wonderful night's sleep. The next morning, when Ethan got up, I was already wide awake and had breakfast ready. Ta-da! A breakfast made with love. I smiled at Ethan. I'm a pretty good cook, you can try it. But it's okay if you don't want to. Just leave it there, I'll finish it when I get back from work. Ethan paused. Thank you. I had an early meeting today, so I had to get to the office early. As I was rushing out the door with my bag, Ethan had just finished washing up. I saw him standing by the dining table, looking down at it. I couldn't see his expression. Oh, and the breakfast really was heart-shaped, the eggs, the toast, and even the ketchup on the toast. Standing outside the door, I sent him a text. It's a little chilly today, remember to wear an extra layer when you go out. I added my favorite cat meme. Perfect. I had never pursued anyone before, but surprisingly, when it came to Ethan, I was a natural. I was very afraid of bothering him, so I was always paying close attention to his reactions. I noticed that he would eat my heart-shaped breakfasts. He would text me to say thank you. He also responded to the messages I sent him from time to time. He even started joking with me one day. That morning, as I was trying to figure out a new way to style today's breakfast, a figure suddenly appeared beside me. Along with a sleepy, hoarse voice, so this is how those peculiar works of art are born. I jumped and turned to look at him. Ethan was in his pajamas, a hint of drowsiness on his face, his hair a mess. But his eyes held a helpless smile. I felt terrible. Did I wake you? I'm sorry, I'll be quieter next time. Ethan shook his head. No, my own alarm went off. He said, waking up early is so hard. I replied instinctively, I know, right? So, you should sleep in a little more from now on, Ethan smiled. You have to work, and sleep is very precious for you. I couldn't tell what he meant by that. Was it a gentle rejection, or "I'll make breakfast tomorrow," he said. "I just hope the great artist won't find my breakfast styling too ugly." Oh, it wasn't a rejection. It was the first sign that my pursuit was working. Yes. When it came to pursuing Ethan, I had a unique advantage. I had subtly learned many of his preferences from Chloe. The movies he liked to watch, the music he liked to listen to, the cuisines he liked to eat. So every surprise I prepared for him was just right, making it hard for him to refuse. We spent a month like this. I could now naturally lean against his bedroom door and ask him, "There's a comedy movie coming out tomorrow. Can we go see it together after I get off work?" Ethan paused. "A comedy?" I knew he wasn't a big fan of comedies. I nodded. "Yeah, I like comedies." "So, want to go together?" Ethan's hand, which was tidying his desk, stopped. He looked up, and our eyes met. My hand, crossed over my chest, tightened into a fist, and I nervously slowed my breathing. After a few seconds, a smile appeared in his eyes. "Sure. What time do you want to go?" "I'll buy the tickets." My face remained impassive, but inside, a little version of me was jumping up and down, punching the air in victory. The next day, before I even got off work, I received a text from Ethan. He said he was at a gathering with some friends that would end around 6. He told me to wait for him at an intersection near my office, and he would pick me up. I didn't think much of it. At the appointed time, I arrived at the intersection with 2 cups of milk tea. And then I saw Ethan and 3 or 4 of his friends coming out of a nearby restaurant. He spotted me immediately and jogged over. "Have you been waiting long?" I shook my head. "Just got here." Just as he was about to speak, someone called out to him from a distance, "Ethan, where did you park my car?" "I can't find it." Ethan answered, said 1 second to me, and hurried over. As soon as he left, the 3 people who had been talking next to him all turned to look at me. And I immediately noticed one of the women. For no other reason than she was absolutely beautiful. A great figure, with stunning, vibrant features. She looked at me curiously. "Honey, you have a crush on Ethan?" I froze and nodded dumbly. The other 2 guys exclaimed, "Wow, for real. Summer really knows her stuff." Their words jogged my memory. Back when Chloe suspected her brother was dating someone, she had secretly shown me a picture of that sexy, long-legged beauty. It was Summer, standing right in front of me. Summer was once one of Ethan's pursuers. Summer shot them a glare, and they immediately clammed up. Just then, their ride arrived. The 2 guys waved goodbye to us, jumped in the car, and drove off, leaving just the 2 of us. Summer casually walked over to stand with me and offered me a mint. She asked me, "Ethan's hard to win over, isn't he?" I scanned for Ethan but couldn't see him. Facing Summer's question, I nodded and gave a soft in response. Summer smiled. "Don't be nervous." She showed me the ring on her middle finger. "I got married 2 years ago. Ethan and I are just friends now." Her voice paused, and she sighed. But when I was chasing him back then, it was incredibly frustrating. I was surprised. "Why?" "Because he's too perfect," Summer shrugged. "As you chase him, it's easy to give up, to feel like you're not good enough for him. He doesn't give you any hope, either. He rejects you so directly that it feels pointless to keep trying. Do you ever feel that way?" I looked at her and shook my head. "No. The process of pursuing him makes me really happy." She seemed surprised by my answer. "Why?" "Ethan is brilliant, and he's also very thoughtful. He remembers people's preferences and considers their feelings. The more I pursue him, the more good things I discover about him, and the more I feel like I have great taste. Besides, I'm not bad myself." I smiled. "It's a little embarrassing to say, but I'm actually pretty great. I'm kind, honest, and hardworking. I graduated at the top of my high school class, got into one of the best universities in the country, won a lot of scholarships, and landed a job at a Fortune 500 company right after graduation. My seniors all praise me and say I have a bright future. Oh, and I have the best friend in the world. Putting my family background aside, I'm living the best life I possibly could. I think I'm pretty awesome. Summer stared at me, stunned, for a long, long time. Then she suddenly burst out laughing, a pure laugh without a hint of mockery. Yes, you are awesome. You just made me realize something. I raised an eyebrow at her. Summer said, the reason I couldn't win Ethan over wasn't because I wasn't good enough for him. It's because we weren't a good match. I said, that's right. You weren't a good match. Summer asked, and what about you and Ethan? I didn't hesitate. A pretty good match. Summer roared with laughter, a joyful sound. I kind of want to be friends with you. I feigned surprise. Oh. I thought we already were. Ha 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 ha. She laughed so hard tears came to her eyes. Then her gaze went past my shoulder, to someone behind me. Hey. This girl is fantastic. You'd better treasure her. I froze and turned around. Ethan was standing about 10 feet behind me, leaning against his car. I had no idea how long he'd been listening. He was looking at me, a smile in his eyes. Tonight's comedy was actually pretty funny. I laughed out loud several times. After the movie, we got in the car, and I casually asked Ethan for his review. What did you think of the movie? Ethan's answer surprised me. I don't know. I turned to him, confused. Huh? Ethan kept his eyes on the road. My mind was replaying something someone said earlier this evening, so I kept getting distracted during the movie. In that state, I can't really give it a fair review. The someone he was talking about. I had no doubt he meant me. I turned to look out the window as heat slowly crept up my neck. He had heard all of my unabashed, smug self-praise. The thought made me feel a little shy. I stayed silent, hoping we could just move past the topic. But Ethan wouldn't let me. I think you got one thing wrong. I tensed up, my fingers twisting in my lap. My cheeks grew hotter as my mind frantically tried to recall which part of my self-praise had been too over the top. Ethan said casually, Leah, I'm not that observant. I wouldn't remember the preferences of someone who doesn't matter to me. It took me a full 10 seconds to process what he meant. Stunned, I turned and stared at his profile. Don't look at me like that, Ethan said. I'm going to lose control of the car. I didn't know where else to look. I glanced around helplessly before finally looking down at my own feet. The car was parked in the garage, but neither of us got out. The garage was silent and dim. The nervous, awkward, and intimate atmosphere quickly intensified. After a few seconds, Ethan was the one to break the silence. Do you need me to explain? I was taken aback. Explain what? Ethan turned to me. What I just said. Before I could respond, he translated his earlier statement more directly. To me, Leah, you are not someone who doesn't matter. I blinked, staring at him motionlessly. Ethan smiled, seeming to recall something. His voice became very soft. The first time I remembered your name was in my junior year of high school. Chloe came home and said she'd made a good friend. She was so excited that day. She said her friend's name was Leah, and that even though you were having a tough time yourself, you'd share your breakfast with stray cats. She said, the name Leah is so beautiful, like the morning sun. It sounds so warm. I was stunned. That was shortly after Chloe and I first met in middle school. I had long forgotten about it, but somehow, it had been imprinted in Ethan's memory so long ago. Later, Ethan continued, his gaze seeming to look past the windshield and into the distant past. I heard her mention you all the time. What you ate that day, how you'd grown a little taller, how your grades had improved, or who had bullied you and how she got revenge for you. Chloe is very picky, especially when it comes to friends, but she really, really likes you. Listening to his words, I was speechless for a long time. Yeah, I should have known. With Chloe's personality, my name must have come up constantly at her house. I've always been grateful to you. I looked at him, confused. Ethan sighed, a hint of helplessness in his voice. Growing up, Chloe was actually pretty lonely. Our parents were busy and didn't have time to take care of us. And with a 5-year age gap between us, there were a lot of things I couldn't say or do for her. In her freshman year of high school, my dad lectured her about dating too early. She ran out of the house on a snowy night. I looked for her for a long time and finally found her in a nearby park. Recalling the scene, Ethan smiled. At that time, you were squatting in front of her, putting a piping hot roasted sweet potato in her hand. But you were so thinly dressed yourself, you were just hopping in place from the cold. Chloe was still angry, but she went home obediently. She was afraid that if she didn't go home soon, you would freeze. His words brought a long-buried memory vividly back to life. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Ethan turned to look at me and said abruptly, "Leah, that AAA happy mailman, who added me 4 years ago, that was you, wasn't it?" My laughter died in my throat. The smile froze on my face as I looked up at him in shock. 4 years ago, I was a junior in college. That June, I went with a professor to visit MIT for a study tour. I had fought for this opportunity myself. Because MIT was one of the top universities in the country, a century-old institution with a rich history, well worth observing and learning from. And also because Ethan was a grad student there. After attending the academic seminar with my professor, he let me wander around campus. With a clear goal in mind, I headed straight for the School of Architecture where Ethan was studying. I was hoping for a chance encounter with Ethan, but I never expected my luck to be so good. I happened upon a graduate school information session for third-year students. And Ethan was one of the graduate student mentors there to answer questions. I blended into a corner of the classroom, wearing a mask. No one noticed me. That was the first time I had ever openly stared at the radiant Ethan. The students had endless questions. Besides Ethan, several other graduate students were also there. Ethan seemed to have something to do, so he left after about an hour. I followed him out of the classroom. As soon as I was outside, I saw Ethan surrounded by a few underclassmen at the end of the hallway. "Ethan, your talk was amazing. I still have more questions for you. Can I add you on Messenger?" "Yeah, man, add us. What you said today was a total game changer for me." Ethan didn't refuse. He just pulled out his phone. I don't know where I got the courage back then, but I practically ran over and, just as Ethan was about to put his phone away, I scanned his QR code. Ethan paused, looking at me with a questioning gaze. I bowed and said, "Thank you, sir." "You're welcome." His voice was gentle. "Remember to tell me your name so I can add a note." I used an alt account to add Ethan. I never told him my name. I just sat quietly in his contacts list, never initiating, never disturbing. Occasionally, I would look at his social feed and see the little things he shared, and it felt like I could touch a small part of his life. I thought I would just be a ghost in his friends list forever. But in the end, I couldn't hold back. It was March 10th of the following year. Chloe's grandmother passed away. She took 3 days off, and when she returned to school, she was listless for days. She said her grandmother was a very kind old lady who would secretly give her candy and weave beautiful flower baskets. She said her brother was much sadder than she was. My parents started from scratch. When my brother was very young, they left him with my grandparents while they went out to build their business. My brother was raised by our grandparents. My grandma adored him, and he was closest to her. My thoughts drifted. Your brother must be heartbroken. Yeah. For several nights in a row, I heard him crying in his room. That night, I finally broke my silence and sent Ethan my first message. I didn't know what to say. I just sent him a hugging sun emoji. Ethan didn't reply. I didn't mind. I just tried to comfort him with my suddenly limited vocabulary. My mother passed away when I was very young, and my father never loved me. I couldn't empathize with his pain, but I wanted to make him feel a little less sad. For the next few days, I would send him a message every day to say hello. I would share my favorite movies with him. Share the warm sun and the bright starry sky. Some people say that when we die, we become stars. They gather to form the night sky, lighting the way for those who walk in the dark. You don't have to worry about walking in the dark anymore. Ethan finally replied to me. He said, "Thank you." Looking at that message, I couldn't help but smile and let out a long sigh of relief. From then on, I would occasionally chat with Ethan. He never asked who I was, and we just talked as online friends for a long time. Until I heard from Chloe that Ethan was supposedly dating someone. My faith was shattered. On impulse, I deleted my alt account. When I came to my senses, I frantically tried to recover the account, but it was too late. My thoughts returned to the present. I watched as Ethan tapped his phone a few times. He held the screen up in front of me. Here. It was the profile page for AAA Happy Mailman. "That was you, wasn't it, Leah?" I was truly shocked. "How did you know?" The moment the words left my mouth, Ethan smiled. "One night, you posted something on your feed. You deleted it in seconds, but I still saw it. I remembered it instantly. It was my birthday. Chloe had made me a cake that looked like a pile of crap. I took a picture to complain about this insane woman, but I forgot to switch accounts. I deleted the post less than 3 minutes after I made it. I never thought Ethan would have seen it." Ethan said, "Chloe made that cake right in front of me. I recognized it immediately." His tone shifted. "So why did you suddenly disappear?" He said, "I waited for you to come back online for a long time." I didn't answer, asking him instead, "Why did you wait for me?" Ethan replied candidly, "Because I realized Chloe was right. Her friend Leah is smart, kind, and like the sun. So warm that you can't help but want to be closer." I stared at him, stunned. "I thought, you never paid any attention to me." Ethan shook his head. "I'm 4 years older than you. When you were in middle school and high school, any attention I paid you was purely in the capacity of my sister's best friend. Later, you grew up, and we barely saw each other. I didn't know how you felt, and I was afraid of being too forward. So, keeping an appropriate distance seemed like the best approach. Until, I recklessly and directly crashed through his safe distance, shattering all balance." I hesitated, "So you mean?" Ethan finished my sentence, "I mean, I like you." I suddenly felt a little lost. My long-held secret crush had suddenly received a response far beyond my wildest dreams. The overwhelming sense of unreality and happiness swirled together, bombarding my senses. After a few seconds of stunned silence, I awkwardly changed the subject. "It's getting late. We should head back." I pushed the car door open and got out, walking toward the elevator on my own. Ethan followed behind me. We returned to the apartment in silence. Click. The door opened, and the bright lights came on. I turned to face Ethan, my heart pounding so hard in my chest it felt like it was about to burst out. "Today is November 30th. Ethan was confused. "Yeah." My hands, hanging at my sides, curled slightly. "So, today is the 28th day since I officially said I was going to pursue you." Ethan leaned against the wall and nodded, a smile in his eyes as he looked at me. So, I mustered my courage. Did I succeed? "So," Ethan leaned in slightly, suddenly closing the distance between us, "today is the first official day of our relationship." As the words fell, he planted a kiss on my forehead. My breath caught, and my eyes went wide. Time seemed to stand still in that moment. On November 30th, I fell in love. With my best friend's brother, whom I had secretly crushed on for years. The days after Ethan and I got together weren't the seismic shift I had imagined. We still lived in Chloe's apartment. He was on vacation, I was at work. Our lives seemed to overlap and run parallel at the same time. But some things were definitely different. For instance, the morning love-filled breakfasts went from my one-way output to the two of us bustling in the kitchen together. Ethan was in charge of frying eggs and making toast, while I was obsessed with cutting fruit into bizarre shapes for plating. He would often stand behind me, his arms wrapped around my waist, his chin resting gently on the top of my head, watching me work. Occasionally, he would chuckle and comment, "Today, artist Leah is in her abstract phase." And now, when I came home from work, there was always a warm light on by the door. Ethan would sometimes be in the study doing some light work, or in the living room watching a movie. When he heard the door open, no matter what he was doing, he would immediately come to the entryway, naturally take my bag, and then give me a hug that smelled of his unique citrus scent. That hug could wash away a whole day's exhaustion in an instant. On weekends, we would curl up on the sofa and watch a sci-fi movie he liked or a comedy I liked. When we got to a funny part, I would laugh without a care in the world, and he would laugh along with me. But his standards for comedy were pretty high, so he was probably just laughing at me. We would also, like any normal couple, play rock, paper, scissors to decide what to have for dinner, and haggle over who had to take out the trash. This fragmented, simple, and wonderfully ordinary daily life made me feel that we were truly dating. Not just the happy ending to my long-held crush. One day, I finished a tough project and worked very late. Dragging my exhausted body home, I had just opened the door when the enticing aroma of food hit me. Only a few warm ambient lights were on in the living room. The dining table was set with exquisite dishes, and there was even a small candlestick in the middle, its flame flickering, creating an incredibly cozy atmosphere. Ethan, wearing the apron I bought him with the little cat print, came out of the kitchen with the last dish, a soup. Seeing me, his eyes crinkled into a smile. "You're back. Wash your hands, it's time to eat. Is it a special occasion today? You made so much food." I looked at the table full of dishes in amazement, sweet and sour ribs, braised shrimp, steamed sea bass, almost all of my favorites. "It doesn't have to be a special occasion. I just wanted to cook for you." Ethan smiled and came over, helping me take off my coat and hang it up. After washing my hands and sitting at the table, I looked at the feast of colors, smells, and flavors, and my heart melted. I knew he was a good cook, but preparing a spread like this must have taken a lot of effort. "You worked hard, boyfriend." I leaned over and gave him a quick peck on the cheek. Ethan was clearly pleased. A gentle smile spread across his face as he picked up a piece of rib and put it in my bowl. "Try it. See if it's to your liking." The meal was warm and satisfying. We chatted about the funny things that happened during our day, laughing constantly. After dinner, we sat on the sofa watching TV. Neither of us spoke, just enjoying the quiet intimacy. I looked up at his well-defined jawline and couldn't resist leaning in for a soft kiss. Ethan looked down, his eyes instantly darkening with a dangerous signal. His arm around my waist tightened, pulling me closer, and then a gentle but deep kiss landed on my lips. Unlike our first kiss, which was tentative and precious, this one was filled with possessiveness and lingering passion. He kissed me until I was dizzy, able to do nothing but instinctively respond, my hands clinging to his shoulders, feeling the heat from the firm muscles under his shirt. We were lost in our own world, and neither of us noticed the faint beep-beep from the front door, the sound of the digital lock being unlocked. "Sweetie. I'm back. Wow, it smells amazing. What did you make? The food overseas is barely fit for human consumption. I missed you so much." Chloe's voice stopped abruptly. Ethan and I froze as if someone had hit pause, and we quickly pulled apart. My face was still flushed, my lips slightly swollen, and I just stared at her, completely dumbfounded. Although Ethan was calmer than I was, his hand was still on my waist, and his ears were noticeably red. Chloe stood frozen at the door, her suitcase still in hand. Time seemed to have stopped in that moment. After a few seconds of deathly silence, Chloe's trembling hands started reaching for her phone. I said, "Chloe, what are you doing?" "Calling the cops. To report a creep." The creep stopped Chloe and took her phone. Chloe sat in the living room while Ethan went back to the kitchen to cook a whole new meal for her. I sat across from her, prim and proper, not daring to breathe too loudly. I worked through several all-nighters to finish my assignment 10 days early just to give you guys a surprise. I didn't expect you to be the ones to give me such a huge shock. Chloe stood up angrily, her hands on her hips. She paced back and forth a few times, then finally let out a bitter laugh. Ha! So I'm the outsider here. Seeing Chloe's eyes turn red with anger as she struggled to keep her composure, my heart ached as if pricked by a needle. I stood up, walked over to her, and gently took her hand. Chloe, I'm sorry. I apologized sincerely. It's my fault. I shouldn't have hidden this from you. Chloe pulled her hand away, turned her face, and her shoulders trembled slightly. I didn't mean to hide it from you. I took a deep breath, deciding to lay everything out on the table. I like Ethan. I have for a long time. So long, that maybe I didn't even realize it myself. Chloe whipped her head around, her red eyes staring at me. How long? Probably, since he carried me to the nurse's office in middle school. I gave a wry smile. I know it sounds ridiculous, but that feeling, it was like a seed that was planted without me even knowing. It wasn't until college that I truly understood it was a crush. Then why didn't you tell me? Chloe's voice was filled with tears and hurt. Leah. We're best friends. You've had a crush on my brother for all these years, and you didn't say a single word to me. What do you take me for? It's because I see you as my best friend that I didn't dare to tell you. My own eyes started to burn. He's your brother. I was afraid that if I said something, we wouldn't even be able to be friends anymore. I was afraid you'd be put in a difficult position, afraid you'd think I had ulterior motives, afraid we could never go back to the way things were. I pulled out a tissue and handed it to her, continuing, when I moved in, I honestly just wanted to be a little closer to him. I never thought we'd actually get together. What happened later, that was a surprise to me too. I was planning to wait for you to come back from your trip and find the right time to tell you everything. Chloe looked at me and suddenly got angry. You just like to carry everything yourself. You did it when you were bullied as a kid, and you're doing it now that you like someone. Why don't you rely on me a little? I'm your best friend. You know that if it's something you want, and I can do it, I'd do anything to help you. She got more and more worked up. So what if he's my brother? If you had told me you liked him earlier, it would have definitely helped you. I could have helped you strategize, helped you test the waters with him. If you had begged me, I might have even knocked him out and thrown him into your bed. I stared at her in shock. Why did she suddenly make me feel a little regretful? Chloe stared at me. So, you just don't trust me. It's not that I don't trust you. I quickly grabbed her hand. It's because I trust you too much, because I care about you so much, that I don't want to trouble you with everything. Sometimes, friendships get worn down by all the little things. I looked into her eyes and finally voiced my deepest fear. Chloe, you joined the family business after graduation, and I know how much pressure you're under. Your colleagues whisper behind your back that you're a nepotism hire. For your achievements and abilities to be recognized, you have to work several times harder than anyone else. This trip to negotiate the international partnership was such a great opportunity for you to prove yourself. I didn't want to distract you, and I definitely didn't want my little love life to make you even more tired. Before I could finish, Chloe burst into tears with a wah and threw her arms around me, hugging my neck tightly. You're just a big idiot. She sobbed, her snot and tears smearing all over my shoulder. Who asked you to be so considerate? Aren't friends supposed to be for bothering? I hugged her back tightly. Years of hidden secrets, guilt, and gratitude, mixed with the overwhelming emotion of the moment, all came pouring out as we cried in each other's arms. That dog of a brother of mine, if he dares to treat you badly, I'll be the first one to take him down. As we were clinging to each other, crying our eyes out, completely lost in our own emotions, a slightly helpless and cautious voice came from the kitchen doorway. The food is ready. Maybe, you should eat something? Chloe and I both looked up at the same time, our two pairs of red, swollen eyes glaring at the source of the voice, and we both yelled in unison with tear-choked voices, "Shut up. Ethan just." He rubbed his nose, silently and tactfully retreated back into the kitchen, step by step. He even thoughtfully pulled the glass kitchen door shut, isolating himself. Seeing his dare not speak up look, Chloe and I looked at each other and suddenly found it a little funny. With tears still on her face, she couldn't help but let out a snort of laughter. Chloe sniffled, wiped her face messily with her sleeve, and looked at me. "All right, stop crying. For the sake of how much you like my brother, oh, no, for the sake of how much my brother likes you." She paused, as if she had finally made a decision, with a hint of reluctance but also a touch of relieved pride, and officially announced, "I will reluctantly approve of you two being together." She walked to the dining table, sat down, and immediately started devouring the food. The kid looked genuinely starved. After she finished eating, she wiped her mouth. She ordered Ethan, "Do the dishes, then come to the study. We need to talk." Ethan just. While Ethan was doing the dishes, I received a text from Chloe. "Yes. I'm the boss today." I wanted to laugh, but I also felt a little bad for Ethan. Through the glass door of the kitchen, Ethan happened to look back, and our eyes met. He gave me a helpless smile and mouthed the words, "It's fine." I quietly slid the glass door open a crack and showed him my phone screen with Chloe's recent text. Ethan saw the message, paused, and then burst out laughing. I made a praying gesture with my hands and whispered, "Good luck, boyfriend." His eyes filled with warmth. He quickly pecked my lips and whispered back, "Wait for me." Then, he took a deep breath, as if heading into battle, and walked toward the study. After Ethan went in, the study door closed. I could vaguely hear Chloe's deliberately lowered voice scolding him. Although I couldn't make out the words, the sheer force of it was intimidating enough. I sat in the living room, scrolling through my phone distractedly, while my ears were pricked up, listening to the commotion over there, silently lighting a candle for Ethan. I moved back to my own place. Ethan's vacation ended, and he soon returned to Boston. The architectural design studio he started with a friend, though small, quickly made a name for itself in the industry with its outstanding creativity and professional skills. Projects started pouring in, and he became incredibly busy. We began a long-distance relationship. The distance didn't weaken our feelings, instead, it made every call, every video chat, feel exceptionally precious. We shared the little details of our lives. He would complain to me about difficult clients, and I would complain to him about the tediousness of my work. He would send me a picture of the empty Boston nightscape when he was working late, with the caption, "Missing you." I would be the first to call him whenever something good happened. The days flew by in a blur of work and longing, and before we knew it, we were in our second year of being long distance. On a normal workday, my boss called me into his office and informed me that due to business expansion, the company needed to create a core position at the Boston headquarters. After a comprehensive evaluation, they believed I was the most suitable candidate. This meant a significant promotion. With almost no hesitation, I accepted the transfer. The move to Boston was surprisingly smooth. Ethan had taken care of everything in advance. I moved directly into his spacious, bright apartment with a large balcony. We bought furniture together, planned the space together, and slowly filled the house with our own personal touches. Our daily rhythms gradually synchronized. He was still busy, but he always tried to turn down unnecessary social events to come home and have dinner with me. Once our relationship stabilized, we naturally met the parents. Ethan's parents were very open-minded and gentle people. His mom, in particular, held my hand and told me lots of embarrassing stories about Ethan's childhood, her eyes filled with undisguised affection. I had no family of my own, but Chloe patted her chest and said, "My parents are your parents." It felt like I finally had a home. The kind of warm, loving home you only see in dreams. One Saturday evening, the sunset painted the sky a warm orange. Ethan and I were walking hand in hand down a tree-lined path near our building, chatting about our day and planning an upcoming trip. My phone rang suddenly. It was an unfamiliar out-of-state number. I hesitated for a moment before answering. Is this Ms. Leah Ross? This is the West Side Police Precinct. The voice on the other end was formal and calm. My heart sank, and I instinctively tightened my grip on Ethan's hand. He immediately noticed, stopped walking, and turned to look at me. This is she. How can I help you? This is to inform you that your father, Gary Ross, was released from prison last October. However, shortly after his release, he became wanted by the police for multiple counts of theft. This afternoon, while attempting to evade our pursuit, he panicked, got into a serious car accident, and was pronounced dead an hour ago after failed resuscitation efforts. As per regulations, we need a family member to handle the subsequent procedures. I couldn't quite hear the rest of what he said. My ears were ringing. Gary was dead? The nightmare that had haunted me for over 20 years had ended, so abruptly and violently. I didn't feel sadness, just a huge, empty sense of absurdity. But it was mixed with a complex feeling of relief. My body began to tremble uncontrollably, and my fingertips turned ice cold. Ethan held my hand tightly, his palm warm and strong. He didn't ask any questions. He had heard some of the call and, from my stiff expression and few words, had guessed what happened. I ended the call and looked up, trying to force a smile to show him I was okay. But I found I couldn't even move the corners of my mouth. He's... I opened my mouth, my voice dry. He's dead. A car accident. Ethan didn't say anything. He just gently pulled me into his arms. His chin rested on the top of my head, and his arms held me tight. It's over, Leah. His deep voice rumbled in my ear, carrying a reassuring strength. It's all in the past. I rested quietly in his embrace for a while, feeling his heartbeat, its steady rhythm slowly calming the storm inside me. I looked up at him. The police station wants me to go handle things. I'll go with you. He didn't hesitate. I'll go with you, to say goodbye to the past. I looked at him, at the unconditional support and tenderness in his eyes, and the last traces of unease in my heart dissipated. I nodded and squeezed his hand. Okay. This time, I wasn't facing the storm alone. Someone was holding an umbrella for me. Someone was walking by my side. The shadow named Father had finally and completely disappeared. And my future was clear and bright. I was loved.